Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 7. So we have only a week until we return to The Flash from this little mini 3-week break that we are having between episodes 7 and 8 for this season. And of course the upcoming 8th episode will be having, will contain the fallout from the previous episode where we had Frost, or Killer Frost to the public, hand herself into the authorities for the previous criminal activity and stuff like that. So it will be interesting to see how that sentencing for Frost goes and whether or not she will be heading to Iron Heights. It'd be interesting if she heads off there and just how that could impact her. And also it's very important to remember as well that Chillblaine, the villain that we met last episode, is there as well now. So yeah, that could be a bit feisty. But in this video, we're going to go over some promo material for the episode that follows the return episode next week. That, of course, being episode 9, which normally would be either the mid-season finale episode or the crossover episode for a normal season of The Flash. But because of what's been going on over the past year or so, things are a bit different. Now, episode 9 is otherwise called Timeless, and it lines up with what we thought the episode would be about based off the title. So we will go over the synopsis or description for this episode, which recently came out, and then break it down and explain what needs to be explained in regards to what's happening going forward, as well as connections to previous episodes. After a devastating betrayal, Barry turns to Timeless Wells for help. Meanwhile, Iris leads Team Citizen down a dangerous road in search of answers, and Cisco confides his biggest fear to Camilla. So yeah, that's an interesting synopsis or description for a couple of reasons, might I say. But yeah, let's go over it. So the synopsis starts with, after a devastating betrayal. Now, since the start of this new story in episodes 4 and 5, there has been quite a build-up of just weirdness, and as we can see in episode 9, it all seems to be coming to a head. But of course, what's the betrayal? Well, I think it's fairly obvious. Not saying it's 100% what's happening, but based on what we've seen, it's fairly obvious what it is. And that is, of course, the betrayal of the Speed Force against Barry and Team Flash. Since we saw the Speed Force, or Nora Allen, drop in from the ceiling of that area in Star Labs, all that different coloured lightning around her, something has just been weird, fishy, suspicious, all the different words. The Speed Force is, of course, claiming that the other forces that we have seen, that of course being the Sage, Strength, and Still Force, represented by Psyche, Foeza, and Dion Owens, are after her or them and have been attacking. Well, we'll just say her. So they're after her and have been attacking her. That's what she's claiming. Even though we, of course, had Cisco also bring up that Dion Owens, when he and Chester interacted with him, seemed to have no intention, no knowledge or anything like that of going after the Speed Force, and was happy in his little time bubble area, if you want to call it. So it seems, if anything, that the Speed Force is the one actually going after the other forces and failing, or she is planning to do that and faked being, weak and, everything like that after a battle with them in order to gain the help, sympathy, and just intel of Team Flash to help themselves out and make things a bit easier, or just allow Team Flash to take down the other forces, and then for the Speed Force, she could take their powers like taking candy from a baby. It is going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but once again, it is a case of Team Flash, and specifically Barry, willingly allowing someone or something into Team Flash for them to ultimately betray them in the end. Also, if the Speed Force goes against Barry, could they stop Barry's speed? Say, hey, no more speed for you. You're in timeout. So it might be up to the other forces to take down Nora, aka the Speed Force, if Barry, has his speed just cut off because it's, this corrupted Speed Force, if you want to call it. So that would be interesting. But anyway, next up in the synopsis we do have, Barry turns to Timeless Wells for help. Guess who's back? Back again. Wells is back. Tell Cisco, because we need some scenes with banter between the two. So we know that Wells was coming back due to the fact that Tom Cavanagh, who of course plays all the versions of Wells, including the Timeless Wells, had been around Vancouver and set and all of that. He hadn't disappeared. Now, of course, in the one episode that this original Harrison Wells, or Timeless Wells as he is being referred to, was in, we actually did see that he noticed the different lightning colors shooting out over Central City when they were giving Barry his speed back in that episode. He was like, oh, what's that? And then went back to focusing on making sure Barry didn't explode or something. So it will be interesting to see whether he actually knows what all of this was beforehand, or if he was just curious and it's just with his ability of, timelessness, if you want to call it that, he is able to assist Barry going back and forth through time, like whether it's ahead or back or whatever it is. But of course, he is the OG Wells, the original Wells, this very intelligent Wells mixed with the other previous Wellses as well. So you would think he would be the best person out there to help Barry with what's going on. But does this mean Barry will have to time travel in this episode to find Wells and bring him back? Or is it just like a thing where they can communicate with him? I would assume that Barry travels back, but I guess that's for us to wait and find out. But, a little bit of time travel here and there isn't bad, especially when Barry does it. But next up in the synopsis we do have, meanwhile, Iris leads Team Citizen down a dangerous road in search of answers. Now, based off this and what we've seen so far this season, I would assume that Iris is still chasing after Kristen Kramer. This is the episode after the Killer Frost trial and sentencing, might I say, and all of that. So maybe something is revealed or at the very least hinted at that requires Iris and the rest of the Central City citizen staff like Camilla and Allegra and stuff to do more prodding and probing into their investigation as to what is really going on here with her and maybe her true intentions as to why she's in Central City. Is it really after Frost? Or is there an underlying reason? Eric Wallace, the showrunner for The Flash, has said that Team Citizen will be more consistently and usefully used, if you want to call it, this season compared to the end of last season or the back half of last season, where it just became weird because Iris wasn't Iris in the real world. It was the mirror Iris. Camilla went away as well and then died. So hopefully they go, the mirror version of Camilla died, so might I say, just to preface that. So hopefully they go well with this story and do it fairly well, because I'm not too sure how useful or at the very least interesting a story with Team Citizen or just Team Citizen in general could be or would be once we head into the back half of this season and some of the more crazy stuff will be going on there. So maybe, have them peak in this next couple or few episode stretches. And finally, to end the synopsis off, we have, and Cisco confides his biggest fear to Camilla. Now, this is pretty interesting, not only because Camilla has just randomly re-emerged from a distant void in the universe because she just was never there, but of course in episode 5 of this season where we had OG Team Flash, so the Flash, Frost, and Mecha Vibe, if you want to call him, taking on Psyche, we got to see what both Frost and the Flash saw as their fears that Psyche was able to put upon them. But Cisco's was kept a secret outside of some minor commentary where he made it seem quite bad. But we never got to actually see it. And we were talking about it back then when that episode aired, that it would have to mean something that they didn't show it, but they showed Frost and Flashes. And either we will see it next time Psyche shows up potentially and gets Cisco again, or Cisco will just reveal it in some other manner or situation or something like that. And it seems we're getting the latter in regards to all of that, but we will hopefully get to see this vision or fear. I'd hate if they went, oh, let's narrate it so it's cheaper than instead of actually having to film something. Hopefully they get to show us. Of course, when Cisco is hit by Psyche's fear vision, he says, no, this can't be how it ends. Now, some thought it could be just to do with Camilla, it was something to do with Camilla. Camilla had a head chopped off, something like that. But it seemed like it would be much worse than that. No, this can't be how it ends. You think that it'd be revolving around a much bigger situation. And even though he is confiding in Camilla with his information, I would say it's the fear is, or the vision that Cisco is seeing is probably important to what's coming in the next 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 episodes in this season, seeing that this 4th storyline is ending in episode 11 from what we know. Unless what we're having here is that whatever Cisco is seeing is actually set up for the next storyline in this season in the back half. So maybe it is about, whoever is actually the bigger bad in the back half. We know Godspeed's going to be there, but would it be a Godspeed vision that's going on here? And also, if it is that case and it is something that's for the back half and it's something to do with the villain there, would they show it in this episode 9, and potentially spoil that? So that's a big thing. If I had to make a bet around it and say this is what I actually think is going to happen, or the most likely thing in my opinion, I would say it's probably something to do with the forces. So maybe what Cisco is seeing is the result of maybe if someone had all these different force powers. So they had the speed force, the still force, the sage force, the strength force, and they just become this almighty being, how ruthless they could be and what they do to the world. And potentially Team Flash as well, and Cisco himself. So that's what I could see it being, just because it's in this episode and we're going to be heading to the conclusion of this storyline in the next episode or 2 afterwards. So That's what I'm predicting at least, but maybe they will set up the back half. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, overall, this is probably the episode I was looking forward to the most based off the title of just Timeless. But now that we actually get the synopsis and more context of the episode, I'm looking forward to it even more. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on all of this. Are you looking forward to this episode? Do you have any added theories? What do you think Cisco saw? Did someone burn his bagel, or is it something worse? Let me know your theories and thoughts in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.